Another fight on the card that's very interesting is Henry Cejudo and Sergio Pettis. Sergio Pettis is the younger brother of Showtime Pettis, Anthony Pettis, who was the former lightweight champion. And Henry Cejudo, of course, is a former Olympic gold medalist, the number 2 ranked flyweight in the world. And Henry is coming off of an absolutely spectacular KO of Wilson Hayes. I was blown away by him in that fight. In that fight, he looked like some sort of a karate master. I mean, it was a very, very interesting fight. Before that, he lost to Benavidez, and Benavidez is, of course, one of the most experienced, one of the best guys in the division. And he lost a very, very close fight, a fight where I've talked to his coaches afterwards, and they were really pissed off by the decision. They thought Cejudo could have gotten the nod, but he rebounded, and he rebounded versus Wilson Hayes and looked like a completely different fighter. The thing that excites me about this fight is 2 things. One, the potential of Sergio Pettis. Sergio Pettis is a young kid. He's one of the youngest guys in the division. He's the extremely talented younger brother of another extremely talented fighter. So he's had martial arts in his life, most of the time growing up. He's 24 years old now. He trains under the great Duke Rufus, who, in my opinion, is one of the very best guys in the division in terms of his ability to coach fighters. He's fucking fantastic. Doof, not the division. I mean, I should say in the sport. Duke Rufus is just an amazing striking coach. He's a former world Muay Thai champion himself, outstanding kickboxer, and extremely knowledgeable about both kickboxing and MMA, and one of the best guys in the world at training kickboxers for MMA. I mean, he's just fantastic. And what we've seen from young Sergio, we saw him get submitted by Alex Caceres early on in his career, and Alex is just slicker and caught him on the ground. And then we saw him lose again to Ryan Benoit. I think that these losses, especially for a young fighter, are absolutely critical. I think you find out what you're really made of, and you see what you need to improve upon. And in fighting tough guys early on, like Alex Caceres, like Ryan Benoit. I mean, and we're talking about 2 years ago, he fought Benoit. He was 21 years old then, or 22 years old. He's 24 now. So he's a really young kid, still learning, still growing on the job, and has looked fantastic in his last few fights. Looked really good against John Moraga, and looked even better against Brandon Moreno in his last fight, which was a 5-round unanimous decision victory. So this, in my opinion, is going to be the toughest fight of his career, because Henry Cejudo just has that Olympic gold medal winner mindset. The mindset of a guy like Cejudo, I mean, this guy is focused on being a champion 24 hours a day. And if you look at the way he fought against Wilson Hayes, I mean, if that's indicative of the kind of improvement that this guy can make. And Kieran Fitzgibbons, who is another fucking phenomenal Muay Thai coach, he told me that this kid is just a sponge and just can learn so fast at a ridiculous rate. And I think you're looking at athletic prowess in Henry Cejudo, but I think maybe perhaps more important than that, you're looking at his mind. His mind is just ultra sharp and focused and determined, and he's just got that championship mindset. I mean, that's why he is an Olympic gold medalist in wrestling. So he's got unparalleled wrestling skill in the division. And then on top of that, if you look at the Wilson Hayes fight, you look at radical improvements in his striking and movement. I mean, he looked like a combination of a prime Lyoto Machida and Conor McGregor versus with his movement against Wilson Hayes. I think a lot of guys are realizing that karate style, if you have all those other bases covered, if you have great wrestling, if you have submissions, good takedown defense, and good boxing skills, as well as Muay Thai, everything else, that karate stance, that sideways stance that we see employed all the time by Wonderboy Thompson, that we see a bunch of different fighters. Of course, Lyoto Machida, a bunch of different fighters use that stance inside the octagon Conor McGregor. It's a very difficult stance to deal with. If you're good at it, if you're good at that movement, that in and out, side to side movement, Michael Venom Page has a very unusual take on that. Fighting in Bellator, he likes to fight like that too. And of course, he's a former point fighting champion. That style is fucking hard to deal with. It's really hard for guys to judge. And if you're dealing with a guy like Cejudo, who's lightning fast on top of that, and starts moving like that with those world-class wrestling skills, with excellent striking, classic striking, boxing, kickboxing. Very difficult to deal with. I'm very interested to see what style he takes or how he approaches this fight with Sergio Pettis. He's quite a bit older than Sergio, being 30. That's a really interesting fight. I'm very curious. I just do not know how that one's going to play out.